for February the 2nd, 2021. Roll call. And then posting of the agenda.
Mayor Zaragoza,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald,
Here.
Councilmember Basua,
Here.
Councilmember Lopez,
Here.
Councilmember Madrigal,
Here.
Councilmember Perello.
Here.
Thank you, all present, and the agenda has been posted.
Okay, and we have a quorum. So our next item is public comments, and we have none. No public
Correct.
comments for a closed session.
No public comments, Mayor.
Okay, and closed session, Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council will recess to a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4, based on existing facts and circumstances to decide whether to initiate litigation in one potential case.
Okay, thank you, and we shall return after closed session. Thank you. announcements at this time?
Yes, Mayor. The City Council, by a unanimous vote, has directed the city attorney to initiate an action. The action, the defendants, and other particulars shall, once unsealed, be disclosed to any person upon inquiry, unless to do so would jeopardize the city's ability to effectuate service of process on one or more unserved parties, or that to do so would jeopardize its ability to conclude existing settlement negotiations to its advantage.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is, this is the opening ceremonies, 6 p.m. And we have the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and also a moment of silence for all the individuals that we've lost with COVID-19. We'll have a moment of silence. So please join me in the salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our next item is on the agenda is item E, ceremonial events. And today we have a presentation proclamation designating the month of February 2021 as Black History Month. And after I read my proclamation, I'm going to have Regina Hatcher Crawford, president of the Ventura County NAACP, share the or introduce the other individuals for the Black History Month. So at this time, I'd like to, Regina, if you're with us, I'd like to read this proclamation. And the proclamation is Black History Month, February 2021. Whereas African Americans have a proud history and a rich heritage, Black History Month gives Americans an opportunity to learn more about the contributions of African Americans to our community and our nation. Whereas we celebrate African Americans for their cultural, political, economic, and historical contributions to our country. Whereas African Americans have persevered despite facing daunting challenges and indignities as a result of widespread racial prejudice and institutional discrimination. As where African Americans are recognized for the courage, tenacity, contributions to our country, and skilled workers, are esteemed professionals, lawyers, pilots, inventors, educators, public officials, orators, publishers, physicians, athletes, small business owners, bankers, librarians, and much more to help create the status and wealth of the United States. And whereas in remembering the special role of our nation's most celebrated African Americans, we also commend the everyday African American heroes who are dedicated to the long cherished ideals of family, community, and nation. And where the citizens are proud of their heritage and proud of the country and know the value of hard work and sacrifice in establishing a good life, loving home, safe community, and deserve the honor and recognition. Now, therefore, I, John C. Zaragoza, Mayor of the City of Oxnard, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2021 as Black History Month. In the City of Oxnard, encourage all residents to learn more about the contributions made to our community and nation by the African American community. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused a great seal of the City of Oxnard to be affixed on the second day of February 2021. And this is signed by John C. Zaragoza, Mayor of the City of Oxnard. And I have this plaque that I'd like to share right now. I'm not sure if you can see it. And then I'll have, this is the proclamation that we're giving out. And probably tomorrow morning we can have Regina or somebody from the African American community pick it up at our office. But this is the proclamation proclaiming History Month, February 2021. Regina, can you hear me? Is Regina with us?
One moment, Mayor.
Okay. She called me earlier that she was ready to.
Just need a moment to identify which phone number is hers.
Uh-huh. Oops, 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 oops. Regina, is that you?
Hold on one second.
Yeah, okay, we have some technical, some difficulties technically here, so.
On the Zoom call? Okay, what's the number for the Zoom call? No, the number that you're calling from.
We have some technical difficulties. We'll be with you in a minute. Thank you.
She didn't call in. She was sent a Zoom invitation, but she didn't call that number. So we're gonna try and connect her.
Okay, 1 minute and we'll get Regina on the line. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for waiting.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Regina Hatcher Crawford, and I'm the president of the Ventura County chapter of the NAACP.
Regina, we have an echo. May we please ask you to turn off your TV?
Okay, it's off. I was
Turn off your TV.
online.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Got it. My name is Regina Hatcher Crawford, president of the Ventura County chapter of the NAACP. Mayor Zerikos, I'd like to thank you for honoring us, the NAACP, as well as all the other Black organizations that have been fundamental in the shaping of America and being active community leaders in this community. So I would like to name the Black organizations. One is Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, President Deshaun Quick Evans, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Inc., Xi Kappa Omega Chapter, founded in 1908, LaShawn Clark, the Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, founded in 1911. Their president is George Elsie. Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Inc., founded in 1911. Jeff Clark and Bruce Stewart are representing them. The Ventura County alumni of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, founded in 1913. Their president, Kimberly Kelly. The Links Incorporated chapter of Channel Islands chapter. Julia Dixon of the 20th Century Onyx Club, Angela Mitchell, Juneteenth Celebration of Ventura County, Loretta Montgomery, Martin Luther King Jr. Committee of Ventura County, and Byron Ward, President of Community Advocacy Coalition.
Thank you. Thank you, Regina. And Regina, I hope that you heard the presentation that I read proclaiming Black History Month for February 2021 and shared all the whereases and all the good things that the African American community has done for the community, for our state, and for our nation. And also, I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but we do have the proclamation right here. And
I did.
and that proclamation is going to be ready for you to pick up tomorrow morning. And I want to thank you again for all the good work that the African community has done for the community again, and for the county, state, and also for the United States of America. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And all of us, I'm sure, humbly thank you for giving us a proclamation. And I will call tomorrow and come by and pick it up. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your good work, Regina.
Thank you as well, Mayor. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is item F, which is this is comments not public comments not on the agenda. And this time, the legislative body will consider public comments for a maximum of 30 minutes. A person may address the legislative body only on written items not appearing on the agenda within the matter of the jurisdiction body. And we'll give you 3 minutes per individual, and I'm going to call them out as we progress. The first individual that we have in public comments is Henry Alvarado Sapien, followed by Manuel Herrera. Henry Alvarado.
Mr. Alvarado, are you on hold? Can you hear me? Mr. Alvarado, would you please unmute? Henry Alvarado Sapien? Please unmute. *6.
Henry, *6 and unmute.
Hello, my name is Henry Sapien. Thank you for letting me know about *6 again. I apologize for that. Hope everyone's having a great and wonderful night tonight in Oxnard.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
All right, awesome. I'm so sorry. I'm going to do this so fast. In Oxnard, 951 King Street, a house cost $600,000, $2,500 a month. In 1999, it was sold for $140,000. Right now, it's listed for $600,000. It was built in 1944. It has no up-to-date fixes, and it has no AC. 53% of Californians want to leave. 63% are millennials. I am 34, so I am one of them. People that make less than $100,000 are leaving California. Between 2017 and 2019, 650,000 have left, which means there's 150,000 people that are leaving California, most in these cities. In my opinion, I believe the cost of living is too high in Oxnard. There is no return, as well as these houses being unfurnished to live in for a long ability of time before having to rebuild the whole thing. Today in public comments, I'm going to speak on the cost of living in Oxnard and why it's important for us to tremendously lower the cost in order to keep residents from leaving Oxnard to have the city of Oxnard grow more wealth and prosperous. If you guys can please investigate this matter, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Have a blessing day to everyone. And I'm very grateful for this time. And I'm thankful for the city of Oxnard looking better every day and helping the transit get off the city so we can nourish our children to see better futures and better views. And I'm very thankful. Thank you all. And thank you, Police Chief. And thank you, Mayor, and everyone.
Thank you, Henry. And our next speaker is Manuel Herrera, followed by Steve Nash. Manuel Herrera is next.
Mr. Herrera?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Mayor Zaragoza, Mayor Pro Tem McDonald, members of the City Council, staff, and City Manager. My name is Manuel Herrera. I am the creator of Citizens for a Better Oxnard. However, today I'm speaking as a resident of District 2. In a couple of days, you will be tasked with appointing our next council representative for District 2. There are a total of 13 applicants, which may be a record, and so I want to commend each and every candidate for taking the time and effort to apply. Although it's great to see so many applicants, there can only be one winner. I personally have reviewed the resumes of each applicant, and I watched last Friday's forum hosted by Daniel Chavez. If you haven't seen this video, I strongly encourage each one of you to do so. It was very telling in so many ways. First of all, not all the candidates showed up. Only 6 of the 13 candidates confirmed, and out of the 6, only 4 actually showed up. I know that if I was running for city council and I knew that this was the only opportunity to be seen and heard by the public, I would have moved mountains to attend. Second of all, this forum was able to show us a lot about each candidate, and their answers to some of the questions were very telling. Again, I urge you to watch this video so you can make the right decision. And what is the right decision? Who is the best candidate? Well, I have never publicly endorsed a candidate before, but I will make an exception this time by endorsing Gabe Turan. In my opinion, Mr. Turan is the ideal candidate. He is well-balanced, smart, proactive, highly effective, mild-mannered, and very well-respected in the community. He holds a Master's of Science in Management and Leadership, a Bachelor's of Science in Information Technology, an associate's degree in Addictive Disorder Studies. He made the Dean's List at Oxnard College in 2007 with a consistent 3.73 GPA. He is the chair of the Fremont South Neighborhood Council. He was the vice chair of the Oxnard Inter-Neighborhood Council organization from 2018 to 2020, and he currently sits as a commissioner for the Oxnard Parks and Recs. He is constantly on social media informing the public on important issues via his informative, self-produced videos. And the list goes on and on. In my opinion, and with all due respect to all of the other candidates, he is a once-in-a-lifetime candidate, and we cannot miss this opportunity to appoint him to the City Council. I trust that you will make the right decision and unanimously vote to appoint Gabe Turan as our new District 2 City Council member. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuel. Our next speaker is Steve Nash, followed by Pat Brown. Steve Nash.
Thank you, Mayor Zaragoza, council members, city manager, and staff. I'd like to read some excerpts from President Biden's climate speech that he gave on the 27th of January. We're talking about American innovation, American products, American labor, and we're talking about the health of our families and cleaner water, cleaner air, cleaner communities. We're talking about national security and America leading the world in a clean energy future. It's a future of enormous hope and opportunity. It's about coming to the moment to deal with this maximum threat that's now facing us, climate change, with a greater sense of urgency. In my view, we've already waited too long to deal with this climate crisis, and we can't wait any longer. We see it with our own eyes, we feel it, we know it in our bones, and it's time to act. And it is an existential threat. Last year, wildfires burned an area roughly the size of the entire state of New Jersey. More intense and powerful hurricanes and tropical storms pummeled states across the Gulf Coast and along the East Coast. I can testify to that. From Delaware, historic floods, severe droughts have ravaged the Midwest. More Americans see and feel the devastation in big cities, small towns, coastlines, and in farmlands. In red states and blue states, and the Defense Department reported that climate change is a direct threat to more than 2/3 of the military's operational critical installations, 2/3. And so this could well be on the conservative side. And many climate and health calamities are colliding all at once. It's not just that the pandemic that keeps people inside, it's poor air quality. Multiple studies have shown that air pollution is associated with an increased risk of death from COVID-19. And just like we need a unified national response to COVID-19, we desperately need a unified national response to the climate crisis because there is a climate crisis. We must lead global response because neither challenge can be met, as Secretary Kerry has pointed out many times, by the United States alone. We know what to do. We've just got to do it. You know, we put millions of Americans to work modernizing our water systems, transportation, our energy infrastructure to withstand the impacts of extreme climate. We've already reached a point where we're going to have to live with what it is now. That's going to require a lot of work all by itself without getting any worse. When we think of renewable energy, we see American manufacturing, American workers racing to lead the global market. We see farmers making American agriculture first in the world to achieve net zero emissions
Thank
and
you,
Sir,
Steve.
your
gaining
time
new
is
sources.
up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Our next speaker is Pat Brown, followed by Naomi Valdez. Pat Brown.
Miss Brown?
Yes, this
Hi.
is Pat Brown. And
Yes, thank you. You have 3 minutes.
I just wanted to let you all know that I have got the information about our new community development director who's going to be starting here in a few weeks, and I am just thrilled to death. I just think this is just absolutely wonderful. I'm just wondering how long we can keep him before somebody else picks him up away from us with more money. He's got so much talent. It says here on this fact sheet. I am just delighted. I'm wondering how our city manager found him and how many other people he looked at before, probably hundreds. This is super spectacular. I think everybody ought to just be totally enthralled with this new person that's coming in, who's going to really help us with a whole bunch of different areas. He's really got a lot of talent, according to the news release. Thank you so much for doing this, and I'm sure that everybody else, once they hear about this, they're going to be excited also. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Our next speaker is Naomi Valdez, followed by Greg Runyon.
Ms. Valdez?
Naomi Valdez, are you on?
Ms. Valdez, please unmute. *6. Are you still there? Ms. Valdez, please unmute by pressing *6. You are up for public comment. Noemi Valdez? Mayor, she's not available. Should we move on to the next caller?
Okay, our next speaker is Greg Runyon, followed by Peggy Rivera. Greg Runyon.
Mr. Runyon?
I am here.
Hi, you have 3 minutes.
How is everybody? Okay, thank you.
Thank
Mayor
you.
and Mayor Pro Tem, council members, it's nice to see you all in Zoom. It's kind of interesting to see the fresh faces in some of your photos. So hopefully when I see you in person. You all smile as brightly as you do in your photos. I wanted to take just a few moments, and I probably will end up taking all 3 minutes because I talk so much. But, every week it seems like I get on and I talk about how we communicate to one another. It matters. And last week, when we were talking about the homeless issue, I just think something was lost. And so before I get too far into it, I was so impressed. I reached out to our city manager to talk to him about it briefly a couple days ago. And he called me back, and then he took my call today. And we had a very nice conversation that really dwelt just on something that was so minor, but it really is so important. When people are hurting, sometimes they don't hear what we say, they hear the tone that we say it in. And I just want us all to be mindful that with everything that our city's going through, when we find people that disagree with us, and yes, even people that are disagreeable, I'm going to say something that's going to sound really pithy, but I really do believe it. I believe that as a clergy member, I am called to a higher standard. I don't believe that as city leaders you are called to a faith-based standard, but I do believe that we're all called to a higher calling. And I just want us all to be mindful of sometimes the most disagreeable people are the ones that are hurting. And in saying that, I also want to say that in no way do I believe that our city is trying to hurt the homeless or is trying to ignore the homeless or that they are trying to ignore anyone in our city that is hurting. There are homeless people that are hurting. There are people that have homes that are hurting. And the issues that drive many people out into the street are the same ones that many times are kept under wraps in homes. So I just hope that all of us can continue to work together. I commend all of you for what you're doing, and I just hope that all of us, can be the leaders our city deserves, and that we'll lead by example, by both in deed and in words. So thank you for all of your service. Thank you for all that you do. And together, I hope that in the coming days, months, and years, we can lead our city to where we want it to be.
Sir, your
So thank
time
you,
is
and
up.
God bless you all.
Thank you,
Thank
Pastor
you.
Runyon. Pastor Runyon, thank you. Our next speaker is Peggy Rivera, followed by Larry Stein. Peggy Rivera.
Not available at this moment.
Okay, our next speaker is Larry Stein, followed by Chris Hernandez. Larry Stein.
Mr. Stein? Mr. Stein, please unmute by pressing *6. Mr. Lawrence Stein? Hi,
I've been
you
doing
have 3
some
minutes.
I've been doing research on items of interest to me, in particular, legal expenses incurred by the city attorney's office or on behalf of the city attorney's office. Multiple requests have been made via the city clerk's office for the city's procedures, and the city attorney refuses to make these public documents available to me. In my research, I came across a vendor called Speak Right. He appeared to be a vendor in Austin, Texas, with no employees or subcontractors in California. So we are subcontracting out to a vendor with no employees in California, let alone Ventura County. Why are we using vendors outside the area when we have a city policy that indicates that we should be using local vendors instead of out-of-state vendors? The same vendors indicates invoices are paid during the last fiscal period, and some of these invoices are paid 60 days after the invoice date. Why should an invoice issued in February 1st, 2019, was paid in July 15, 2019? That's several months old. Why do we have a city policy? A, we're using outside vendors from outside the state, 2 states away. And why are we paying vendors several months late? I know we charge our customers and utility services interest if they are more than 30 days late. We're not paying our bills. A lot of discussions have taken place in the past where our credit rating has been negatively affected by city's practices. Paying vendors late, 30 days, 60 days, even 90 days late, can affect our practice. It's come to my attention that this is not the only vendor that's being paid late, that the city has numerous vendors that habitually pay late by our city staff. Why do we have this practice? And why wasn't city staff aware or city staff made available this information to elected officials? I bet our elected officials didn't know or weren't even aware of the fact we pay our vendors 60 days, 90 days, even 120 days late. Why is the city hiding this information from elected officials? Again, I have an elected official called a city clerk. My public record requests are go to the city clerk, and city departments are supposed to respond back to the city clerk. We have a city official, a city attorney, a person supposed to be the leader of our ethics, continuing to violate the law by not making public documents available.
30 seconds.
He, in fact, was in charge of making sure that over 1,000 employees over a 10-year period were not paid a Social Security benefits. This is a city that cares. We're so concerned about pensions for public safety, they don't tend to care a rat's behind of our city employees, LBEs, who were paid or did not get paid their Social Security benefits after over 10 years of employment. Thank you for your time. And I'm really glad to have City Council address these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry. Our next speaker is Chris Hernandez, followed by Lang Martinez. Chris Hernandez, followed by Lang Martinez.
Hello, hello.
Mr. Hernandez, you have 3 minutes.
All righty. Good evening, City Manager, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members and staff. My name is Chris Hernandez, Vice Chair of the 5 Points Neighborhood Council. On January 9th, there was a fatal accident at the 5 Points intersection involving a man on a bicycle and a semi-truck. My prayers and condolences to Mr. Heredia and the family. I'm not here to put the blame on anyone. I'm here to ask the city officials, what's the next step? This is not the first time an accident has happened at this intersection. And now, a fatality. 5 Points intersection is infamous for accidents and being a confusing and difficult intersection to come across. I still, till this day, at times get confused at that intersection. Confusion at the intersection happens every day. So what's the next step? Well, let me add a suggestion. And I suggest that we start by conducting a study that will roughly cost $2 million. $2 million, you heard right. Now, where am I getting this figure from? You're thinking, right? This figure comes from a conversation I had with the city's street and signs engineer, Tim Bokum. We spoke about the city control documents, roundabout plans, and expert consultant teams which specialize in highways. Expert consultant teams is the first step to get a study done. The intersection system is very old and needs a lot of work. Mr. Bokum told me that one of the biggest reasons he came from San Luis Obispo is because he wanted to help with the 5 Points intersection. So I believe now is the time. You see $2 million. I see the accidents and the deceased. So how many more until you decide to allocate funds towards ensuring the safety of our citizens? Let's take the first step by getting with Mr. Bokum so that we can get a study conducted. Thank you very much. Shout out to Pat Brown. I seize my time.
Thank you, Chris. Our next speaker is Lang Martinez.
Mr. Martinez. Mr. Martinez, please unmute by pressing *6. Hi.
Yeah, hi. My name's
Yes, you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, Council. My name's Len Martinez. I'm a homeless advocate, and one of the things about being an advocate and being on the streets and trying to reach out to other individuals for help is the focus on helping that one individual. It's funny that I've worked and I've been part of outreach with the city of Oxnard, Housing Authority. I've been over to One Stop. I've been with numerous people as far as mental health, and they all say to me, they say, Lang, our focus is to help as many people as possible. And my comment to them is this: that's too overwhelming for me. I try to focus on the parable in Luke, where God talks about in the parable, where he says Jesus told them the parable. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Doesn't he leave the 99 in the open country to where he goes after the lost sheep until he finds them? And when he does find them, he joyfully puts it on his shoulder. He joyfully puts it on his shoulder and he brings it home. Then he calls to his friends and his neighbors together, and one says, rejoice with me, I have found my lost sheep. I was homeless on your streets of Oxnard for a long time. I was homeless, and I believe that somebody did come after me, and I was that lost sheep. See, the focus has to be on the one. In regards to you, and the focus, all your focus on bringing back and help as many people as possible, you did. You brought back 70 people to the hotel, the Vagabond Hotel in Oxnard. And what you did is in a 63-period day, starting from October 17th to December 23rd, you lost 6 sheep. You lost 6 sheep in that time period. As Mrs. Regina Larios made it very clear, I brought this awareness in the first part of November. You know, there's not a night that doesn't go by that I ask myself, because it bothers me that people lost their lives and it wasn't needed. I ask myself, Leg, what more could you have done? Who could you have called? What part did I play? Did I do everything possible? And the answer is I did. I did everything that I could. The awareness was brought to you. It was put on your table, and you chose to ignore it. So let me ask you something. I received a phone call from LA, and they said, Lang, let me ask you a question.
30
we know
seconds.
that 7 people died, and we know that 4 were lost in the Vagabond. Let me ask you something, Lang. Do you believe that at least one life could have been spared? And you know what, people? In my heart, I know 100% that at least one. I will tell you this: if I had a coupon to get two special quarter pounders with cheese, and I saw one of you standing outside, you know what? I'd keep both of them. I wouldn't even give you one. That's how I feel about all of you. You neglected those people, and you know I brought it to you, and you
Your time
chose
is up, sir.
Thank you, Lang.
and you chose to turn the other way.
Thank you. That was the last speaker that we had. Mr. City Manager, can somebody get together with Chris Hernandez regarding 5 points and the concerns there? That I'm sure that we're working on that, and maybe get back to Chris. You know, he's, I think, the 5 point vice chair. Any questions or concerns from our council members on this items?
Mayor,
Uh,
we do have one more speaker
oh, we do?
on the phone, Noemi Valdez.
Oh, she came back.
Yes.
Is she on?
I will get her on if that's okay.
Okay, well, just go on. Mhm.
Ms. Valdez?
Hello, good evening.
Hi.
Can you
Yes,
hear me?
good evening. Yes,
Yes.
thank you. You
I'm
have
so
3 minutes.
sorry.
No problem.
Uh,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Zaragoza, Pro Tem McDonald, and council members. My name is Noemi Valdez. I live at 1020 Lockwood Way, and I have been a resident of Oxnard and in District 2 for almost 30 years. I congratulate all of those on the slate for appointment to the vacant council seat, and I think it's really refreshing to know that there is so much interest in our community. And with all due respect to the other candidates, I'm speaking to you in support of one of my fellow residents in District 2, and that's Mr. Gabe Dadan, who is seeking to be appointed to fill the vacant District 2 council seat. I have known Gabe personally for a very short time. I know of his involvement and advocacy in our community for many, many years. I'm really truly impressed that a young man, as Gabe is really totally vested in assuring that our neighborhood and our Oxnard community as a whole are informed of local governmental issues and the impact these issues have on our daily lives and the many options to address these concerns. In addition to his experience as a vice chair of the INCO, the Inter Neighborhood Council Organization, and as a commissioner of the Parks and Recs and Community Services Commission, Gabe, on his own time, has spent quite a bit of effort analyzing and deciphering legislative jargon into a really unbiased language that all citizens and all of us can understand. Then really sharing this information through a variety of mediums. This includes hosting and or coordinating in person before COVID, of course, and now Zoom or through Facebook, town hall type forums and events in not only in District 2, but in the city and for the city in general, which I have participated in over several years. These are really opportunities where the community members are in direct contact with city council members and other officials to ensure that District 2 voices and concerns are heard. One of the candidates, of all the candidates on the slate, in my opinion, no other person has really established a more visible and direct relationship with District 2 as a whole, related to Oxnard, City of Oxnard matters. Not only recently, now that the seat has become vacant, but for many years, for many, many years. Gabe's occupation focuses on preventing unsafe behaviors of local youth and providing struggling youth with access to safe and healthy alternatives and resources. His advocacy really extends outside of Ventura County as the coordinator of a statewide mentoring program, mentoring a youth program. As a fellow educational field colleague, I truly believe that children,
Your time is up.
the children
Thank you,
of our
Bianca.
community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, that's the last speaker on items not on the agenda. And okay, so we're going to continue. Our next is item G. This is a report from the city manager, and the subject is COVID-19 update from the Director of Emergency Services. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you put up the slides, please? So I have only a few very brief updates tonight. The first thing I want to talk about is, wait for the slide here. Pardon the delay, it'll be up in a moment. Okay, thank you very much. So first thing I want to announce, which we're very excited to announce, and this is we're finally, after a year's delay due to the pandemic, we're finally able to announce that we are launching the Oxnard Employee Pipeline Program, thanks in large part to our partners at Oxnard College, as well as the Oxnard Chamber of Commerce. We've all been working together to launch this program, and we'll be able to talk about this in more detail when we discuss the council's 5-year priorities. But in a nutshell, this is an effort to get many of our residents who are underemployed, get them just enough training so that they become eligible to work with some of the great companies that we already have here in the city of Oxnard. So it's very simple. It's just a few classes to take at Oxnard College. There is actually financial aid available. And when you finish your courses, you get a certificate, and we will help you to schedule an interview at one of the great companies or more if you need here in Oxnard. And the bottom line is this is a way to get our residents into better paying jobs, and especially important are jobs that provide health benefits to the employees and their families. So very quickly, you can call this phone number here on the screen, 805-385-7434 to get more information. We are recruiting potential students now. The class will start shortly at Oxnard College. This is our first session that we're rolling out, and we expect this program to start slow but grow over time. So that's very exciting. Next is that we, in our efforts to update the City Council's 5-year priorities, we've issued a survey today. It's really a continuation survey to the public to help the council select priorities for the next 5 years for the Oxnard community. That workshop for the council, again, this has been in process, but the workshop is scheduled for February 25th, which is a Thursday evening special council meeting focused on selecting the priorities. So we have the survey, it's live now, and we're also pushing it out through various social media venues. But here is a copy of our page where the survey is. It's oxnard.org/priorities. And when you go there, it's very simple. Take the survey in English or in Spanish. And then that's the end of the slides. The other thing I want to announce tonight, and this is COVID related specifically, recently there's been a lot of money designated via the federal CARES Acts for specifically for tenant rent assistance. And there's a combined nearly $13 million combined federal money coming through the from the feds through the state that is designated for residents of Oxnard. Now, there's a series of different criteria that determine how much rent assistance you can get, how far back or how far forward it can go. Bottom line is, though, it's nearly $13 million. All this is going to be programmed this year, this calendar year. The state will be running these programs. We are going to, as a city, as well as the county, by the way, we are going to work to help get people to these programs. We expect the state to announce them by mid-March in terms of the actual applications. The key thing is if you don't apply, you won't find out how much rent assistance you can get. So it's really important. And going forward, we will continue to reach out to our residents. But again, $13 million of federal funds have been set aside and designated in this next round for use by Oxnard residents. So again, we're going to keep pushing the information out there, but the bottom line is, I know it is, the criteria is a little bit complicated. We will work with people, but if you don't even try to apply, you won't find out how much rent assistance you can get. But it is a lot of money that's available. So we will continue to put that information out there as we get details from the state. And then finally, I understand today is also Groundhog Day and apparently 6 more weeks of winter.
Mhm.
And we hope with that will come rain, which we desperately need. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Mr. City Manager, I've had quite a few calls and quite a few people ask me, when are we going to fix our streets? When are we going to clean up our gateways? When are we going to do work on the homeless and so forth? And because they voted for Measure E, but can you explain to our constituency that we have not realized any funding from Measure E and probably won't realize any funding until probably the second quarter?
Right.
Can you share?
Yes, very quickly. So Measure E goes into effect this April. So we won't get the first reimbursements from the state until very end of June, perhaps early July. Now, it's going to be a city council decision about prioritizing how we expend Measure E. And of course, the upcoming city council workshop on the 5-year priorities, followed by, and that will obviously include categories for investing Measure E funds, and then followed by the budget process in the late spring. All that will inform the next fiscal budget, but those discussions will take place starting February 25th at that council workshop.
And that's going to be really important also for the candidate for, or the, for the, not candidate, for the person applying for District 2. You know, that person is going to be very instrumental in helping us out too.
I would think so, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Mayor, if I can make a comment, please.
Mayor Pro Tem. Mhm.
In regards to the survey, I know that it's laid out to be an online survey, but sadly, there are still families in our community that don't have computer access to the internet or computers for that matter. We're seeing that a lot on the educational side where, students are studying remotely and they can't access the system. So I would hope we would find some way to do other types of outreach to the community just to make sure we're getting to everyone that we want to hear the information from. I think it's very important.
And Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to add a little bit to that. I'm sure that we're also going to convey that message in Spanish and probably our local stations, radio stations, and probably via the newspaper might be an appropriate venue for the Spanish-speaking community. Okay, thank you. Okay, no comments from the council members. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Our next
Mayor?
item is, yes.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I didn't raise my hand on time. Yeah, I wanted to mention just, yeah, thank you for doing that and following up on the comments in terms, or I'm sorry, let me clarify first. Are we getting the COVID update next? Or anything else on that?
No, I'm finished.
That
Thank
was
you.
it, Councilor.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mayor. Then what I just wanted to add is to thank you for the letters that were recently sent to our our county board of supervisors, county administration, as well as the letter that was sent up to the governor's office in terms of prioritizing vaccines and making sure that that there is equity in reaching our entire city, in particular South Oxnard, which has been heavily impacted by the number of COVID cases. And so just want to thank you for that and fully support those efforts to ensure that we are reaching as many residents as possible in our city.
Thank you, Councilmember. That's much needed. And yeah, we did submit that letter to the Board of Supervisors. Councilmember Perello?
Yes, I'd just like to follow up on your comment and Mayor Pro Tem's comment. The information doesn't do any good unless it's shared, but not just, I would suggest, not just with Vita newspaper or the local Spanish radio stations, the local English radio stations and the local English press, Tri-County Sentry, VC Reporter, The Star, whatever else is out there, to share with the entire community. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, any other comments? Okay, okay, Oscar, Councilmember Madrigal.
Yeah, are we with council comments yet, or are we?
That's our next item. That's our next
Okay,
item.
I'll wait for the next item then.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, with that in mind, then we'll go to council comments. Go ahead, Oscar Madrigal.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say that next week, February the 10th, La Colonia is having a virtual meeting. So it's going to be a first meeting in a while. We were supposed to have a meeting way back when in March. That was actually canceled right at the beginning of the pandemic. Topics for the meeting are going to be about streets in La Colonia. I'll be there virtually, city manager, public works, the mayor. So please, if you do have time in the neighborhood, please sign up for the neighborhood meeting next Wednesday, February the 10th. Second, I
You muted. Yeah. You
You're
muted.
still muted.
I was muted the whole time.
No.
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 Just the
Okay.
last,
Sorry
just
about
the
that.
last sentence.
Okay. So over the last couple of weeks, I was diagnosed with COVID. Unfortunately, I had, a little shutdown with my body, and I ended up in the hospital for most of last week. I want to thank everyone, the emergency team at St. John's Hospital for their wonderful services, and I want to thank Community Memorial Hospital in Ventura for all their care. And I am really grateful for the services that were provided, and for everyone that reached out and was very helpful during this time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Member. Glad you're doing okay. Any other members like to share?
Mr. Mayor, if I can make a couple comments, please.
Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem. Mhm.
Thank you. This is my transportation week, so I have Gold Coast Transit meeting in the morning, Los Angeles Regional Rail Authority for the Amtrak service meeting the next day, and Friday is Ventura County Transportation Commission. And I just wanted to tell the community that all the transportation agencies are facing the same difficulties that the rest of the community is. We're trying to provide as much service as possible. Gold Coast is still waiving fares. VCTC, I believe, is also still waiving fares for their inter-county transit systems. And we're doing everything we can to make sure that our operators, our drivers, and all of our employees are safe, and that all of the passengers that utilize our services are safe as well. So, if you happen to be a public transit person or ride on public transit, say thank you to the operator and thank them for doing what they can to help get people around. And we're all in this together, and we're going to get through this all together. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other council members? Okay, we have Bert and then Basua.
I will let Gus Pasua go first, please.
Okay, Councilmember Basua.
Thank you, Councilmember Peralta. Greatly appreciate it. I want to go ahead and congratulate our fire chief on his promotion to fire chief. Congratulations. Looking forward to definitely working with you and your department. Also to our new community development director, welcome to the city of Oxnard. Looking forward also to working with you. Last but not least, I want to wish Peggy Rivera a happy birthday today. Hope she's enjoying her day. And that's all I got, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Perella.
Yes, thank you. We have a Super Bowl coming up, and I'm getting information that there are restaurants that are saying they're going to have the televised Super Bowl, and specific to my district and District 1. I'd like to know if we can get somebody explaining exactly what the rules are. It's on television that they don't recommend televisions in certain areas of Southern California, large parties. Is there going to be a time limit? Is anybody can enforce this? I continually get complaints about restaurants in the Oxnard Shores area. And, I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news, and I want businesses to be successful. But when we have people that are getting sick and the numbers are going up, and as we just mentioned, we have a councilman that I'm very grateful he's back walking around with a living here, because it's serious. And when some people flout the rules and some people don't pay attention and some don't care, it's impacting more than just themselves. So if we can get somebody to address this, and if it's a matter of getting the county to do the job with environmental health, then what do we need to do to get the county to do the job with environmental health? Again, this gets to an issue of the relationship between the city and the county. But if we could have this addressed, I would appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I'm sure that, Mr. City Manager, we can contact the county, and additionally, maybe Chief Benitez and yourself can give us some additional information.
Well, Mayor, I'm kind of hoping we can do it, because we'll have no council meeting before the Super Bowl, and
Absolutely,
and we've already got neighborhoods that are already talking about, well, they're going to have a party in their neighborhood, and I'm like, I don't know what. This is not a cultural thing. This is not rich poor. This is just common sense, and some people don't have much.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead, Mr. City
Yes,
Manager.
so I'll start, and I don't know, we have both, I think at least two of our chiefs are on the
Chief
Zoom here, so
Benitez.
I'm not sure if any of them can chime in, but very quickly, the county's been doing a spectacular job of enforcement, and remember that they've got only so many staff, and they've got an entire county to cover. Our code enforcement and occasionally our police are working in tandem with them. So we're doing the best we can, and I don't know if there's a proactive way that we can pre-enforce potential Super Bowl parties. So I'm going to have, I think I see Chief Sonsigard on there live. So I'm going to have him chime in. And I also want to say very quickly, go Tom Brady. Thank you.
Chief.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. So Super Bowl Sunday is historically a very busy day for us. We do have extra staffing out, but to be perfectly candid, it's generally directed at a lot of drunk driving issues that we experience during and after the game, and we also almost every year see a high call volume in and around the Super Bowl and afterwards, particularly when it comes to family issues, domestic violence, things like that. So Sunday is already going to be a busy day for us. We are always available to assist. If there was a particular restaurant, we would go there and do what we've done throughout the pandemic. So as far as to speak specifically to what Councilmember Perello was talking about, a television. So we are back in the purple tier. There is outdoor dining, and I can look into it. I don't think there's anything that prevents like a restaurant from having a television outside, letting their patrons watch the Super Bowl while they sit there and have dinner. But I'm not the expert on that, so I would kind of defer to code compliance on that.
Yeah, I think, Chief, I think the county of Los Angeles, city of Los Angeles, is not allowing TVs, but we're not doing that in Ventura County. So
Okay.
I think, just for information. Councilmember.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Any other comments from?
And Mr. Mayor, I appreciate the city manager's support for Tom Brady, but I happen to live in a Patrick Mahomes house, so we'll see how this treats us.
Okay, it's going to be a good game. Oh, let me. I'm going to share a couple of comments too. I want to follow up on Councilman Perello's. As we approach, the Super Bowl weekend, just want to remind everybody to avoid the larger gatherings, as was mentioned, to stop the COVID-19, and to continue to use face coverings at all times, practice social distancing at 6 feet, continue to wash your hands, and also probably the safest way to watch Super Bowl at home, if you can, with the family and people that you know well. As you know, we continue to have increased COVID reports of illnesses and deaths, which is really, really terrible. And I want to personally share that I had a relative that we're going to bury this weekend, and fortunately, unfortunately, it's going to be the ceremony is going to be a Super Bowl Sunday and with a burial on Monday. So this is very, very critical. Let's stop COVID. Let's work together, and I think it's extremely important that we follow those concerns. And I want to thank you, Mr. Perello, Councilman Perello, for that. And additionally, I also want to congratulate our chief, Hamilton. He went from an interim to a full chief, and also to commend our new community director. You continue to do all this good work, Mr. City Manager, giving us all this good individuals, and thank you for that. Okay. Our next item is items not in the agenda, and I have some public comments on that before anybody shares anything on we have info consent, and that's item 128, and I have 3 speakers on that, and why don't we allow those 3 speakers to share their concerns, and then we can go to item 128. The first speaker is Mary Lou Gonzalez, followed by Ray Platel. Mary Lou Gonzalez.
Ms. Gonzalez. Ms. Gonzalez, please unmute by pressing *6.
¿Sí me escuchan?
Sí.
¿Sí me escuchan?
Un momento, por
Okay.
favor.
Okay.
We need a translation.
Yes.
Un
Our,
momento, por
our
favor.
fabulous translator is approaching the podium.
Ahorita estamos con usted
Y tienes,
Muchas gracias.
y
para
tienes,
la
y
traducción.
tienes 6 minutos. 6 minutes.
Tiene 6 minutos y ahorita le vamos a traer la traducción. Muchas gracias.
Okay.
Bueno, ¿me
Sí.
puede escuchar?
Ajá, sí, sí le escucho.
Ok, nada más deme una pausa después de que hable para poder interpretar si es tan amable. Tiene 6 minutos, adelante.
Okay. Buenas tardes a todos. Gracias por darme la oportunidad de expresar mis opiniones.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for letting me express my opinion.
Tengo algunos puntos que quiero mencionar.
I have some things that I want to mention.
Sé que tienen muchos planes para la ciudad de Oxnard y me alegro, pero me gustaría que se enfocaran en las calles de la colonia.
I know you have a lot of plans for the city of Oxnard, and I'm happy for that, but I would like you to pay attention to the streets in Colonia.
Como por ejemplo a la calle Garfield, Hayes, McKinley, Grant, entre otras calles,
Like
de toda la vecindad.
Haley Street, Garfield, among others, basically the whole neighborhood.
Al manejar en estas calles siento que voy a mi pueblo rural allá en México donde se mira mucha pobreza.
When I'm driving in these streets, I feel like I'm in my town in Mexico where there's a lot of poverty.
Porque hay muchas bachas y las rayas ya se miran muy gastadas.
There's a lot of potholes and the lines between the lanes are faded already.
Les pido por favor que si puedan hacer algo para esta vecindad.
I asked you if you could please do something for this neighborhood.
Y si se ocupa dar multas a las personas que tiran basuras en los callejones, creo está bien, ya que ahora estamos con una pandemia.
And if you need to find those people who put garbage on the alleys, I think it's okay because we're living a pandemic right now.
Y es necesario mantener la vecindad limpia para que ya no siga propagando alguna enfermedad.
And we need to keep our neighborhood clean so we don't spread any kind of diseases.
Sean ustedes los que sus nombres queden en la historia de Oxnard, que trabajaron duro para una bonita y próspera vecindad de la colonia.
Make sure your names are the ones who are left in history, making this neighborhood and this city a better and prosperous city for all of us.
Muchas gracias por su atención y espero una respuesta. Muchas gracias a todos.
Thank you for your attention and hopefully I'll get an answer. Thank you, everybody. Gracias, señora.
Gracias, gracias, señora González. Gracias. Ray Platel, followed by Pat Brown. Is Ray on?
Mr. Blatel?
Mr. Blatel?
Mr. Blatel, please unmute by pressing *6.
Hello?
Hi, yes, you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hello? Thank you very Thank you very much.
Would you please turn off your TV?
Ray, can you turn off your TV? Ray?
Is that better?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Mayor and council members, this is regarding agenda item K3. I've already pointed this out before, but I think it's worth repeating. The $200,000 of the Downtown Improvement Program settlement funds is supposed to provide 40 hours per week of targeted police overtime support for the downtown area for 1 year. That is equivalent to a full-time employment. Rather than use this money for overtime, why can't you secure an additional uniformed police officer position? According to your own city salary data, you can easily get a police officer pay grade 1 or 2 with this money, salary and benefits included. If this were a temporary assignment, let's say 6 months or so, going with the current proposed overtime path with existing officers would make sense. But this is for 3 years at $200,000 per year. 3 years of 40 hours per week overtime is well over 6,000 hours of overtime. I guess I'm the only one who feels this is excessive. It just doesn't make sense to me. I understand that there has not been a police academy for quite a while, yet I believe this is going to change very soon. And I understand that even though you may have a round hole available, if there are no round pegs available, you can't fill the hole. That being said, may I suggest that the proposal be amended to include overtime for 1 year only? This would allow time for an academy class. After this time, whatever is remaining of the $200,000 downtown improvement program settlement funds, I suggest that you consider hiring a full-time and uniformed police officer to perform the task. You could just as well dictate which days and hours are worked, just like the current proposal. You'd also have the benefits provided by the continuity of a full-time police officer who perhaps might even develop a community relationship with any downtown homeless. I'm just saying, why not consider this 1 year overtime followed by 2 years of full-time employment option? Thank you very much for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ray. Our next speaker is Pat Brown. Pat Brown, 3 minutes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Yes, hi. You have
I would like to see sometime within the next few months a detailed description and plans of the downtown improvement program and what's being done, what's not being done, what is going to be done, and when it's going to be done, so that the public can understand exactly what's going on there.
Brown?
Yes.
Could you turn down your TV a little bit?
I can't hear you. What did you say?
Yes, we're receiving an echo.
Okay. Well, I'm done with this topic. So it's just number 3. It's just the downtown improvement program. I haven't heard anything recently about what the plans are, what we're going to be doing, and how we're going to be doing it, and when we're going to be doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Ms. Brown, for
the city manager.
The next time you call in, can you please turn off your TV in the background so we can hear you? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is consent items 1 through 8. What's the pleasure of the council, or?
I have a question on number 4.
Okay, and number 4, go ahead.
My questions on number 4 are twofold. It's the item Transportation Department Act, Article 3, Appropriations and Returns. On number 2, under the recommendations, we're going to return $55,163 plus interest. And the other, number 3, we're returning $142,000 plus interest. It states on the next page of the, or the fourth page of the agenda, that the interest amount will be calculated at the time of the payment. I just want to make sure that we're not getting hammered, that it's, because I know what you get when you have money in the bank. I don't want the city to get bent over. The second question I have with regard to that is on item part B, again, street sidewalk project. We're going to refund the funding for the work that was to be done to enhance B Street between 9th and 8th Street. And we did do some enhancement, but specifically it was addressed about what we planned to do was ADA ramps. And I want to know, in the last paragraph on that project where it describes B, it says, since present conditions provide sidewalk, crosswalks, parking, staff is recommending that this enhancement project be closed and $55,163 of unspent TDA Article 3 funds and interest be returned to the VCTC. My question, did we get the ADA ramps addressed in that area? And if we didn't, I don't want to give the money back.
Tatiana, you have
Yes,
information?
Councilmember Perello, I can respond to those questions. So for the first part, as far as the interest goes, we put that in the staff report because between the time that we actually write the staff report and when this council is presumably approved by council, there would have been some interest accumulated in that time frame. So basically what we're stating is that by the time we actually return the funds, it'll be this amount plus the interest as it's accumulated between when we wrote the staff report and now. That's all we mean by that.
I understand.
And then as far
but
as the second question goes, yeah, go ahead.
I understand that, but we're going to make sure that we get the least amount of interest accumulated towards the city of Oxnard as possible. That's my question. We have very sharp people in the finance department. We have a tremendous staff. I want to make sure that nobody squeezes the city because they think we're an easy mark.
Sure, and I might need to defer to Mr. Kevin Riper on the details of that.
Okay. And on the ADA question, Ms. Internet?
Yes, so the ADA improvements were done back when with the developer, so at least those ADA ramps are completed. However, the rest of the project is no longer. I mean, we don't feel the need to do that as there's already sidewalks there.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Ms. Internet.
No problem.
Thank you, Mayor. That's it. That's all I got.
Thank you. So any other questions on this item? It's 1 through 8 consent items. You have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mayor
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lopez. Roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Perello,
Yes.
Councilmember Basua,
Yes.
Councilmember Madrigal,
Yes.
Mayor Zaragoza,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Our next item is L1. This reports. This is from the Finance Department. It's a comprehensive annual financial report and summary presentation. But before we go to our presenter, I have one item. Somebody would like to share some information, and that was Larry Stein. One speaker, Larry Stein. This is L1, Larry Stein.
Mr. Stein? Mr. Stein, please unmute by pressing *6. Mr. Larry Stein, are you on the line? Mr. Stein? Mr. Stein, please unmute.
Okay, so we can't get a hold of Mr.
Not
Stein.
available.
So we'll go ahead and make our presentation. This is a comprehensive annual financial report and summary presentation. And this is, then we have our Eddie and Pine LLP. And Kevin is, who's making the presentation?
Oh, we'll start with Don Ecker and we'll follow with all of Edie and Payne. Don Ecker, Hong Nguyen, Eden Casareno, and Mary Maxian. Don?
Thank you.
Good evening, Kevin. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. We are happy to be back with you this evening. As you know, we presented to the Finance Committee earlier, and this evening we're going to make a brief report to you on what we believe is excellent progress since the last year. Hong.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. I'm going to be sharing the slides with you. First off, I wanted to congratulate you on a very successful audit that we actually finalized before the holidays in December. EDM Payne issued a clean opinion on the CAFR as presented by Kevin and his team.
I try to speak on this issue, I'm not denied.
Go ahead. Go ahead, man.
That's right. So the CAFR is a document prepared by Kevin and his team in the finance department, and our document, our part of that document is their opinion, of which there's clean opinion, and we wanted to highlight that we also included, we discussed several components of the CAFR, which are the RSI, which is required supplementary information, and then supplementary information, as well as the various statistical information which make up the CAFR components, as well as MD&A. So we do not issue an opinion on the MD&A. Our opinion is on the basic financial statements and the note disclosures. Oh, actually, before I move forward, we will be we are still in the process of finalizing the audit. We will be issuing a single audit report in March, and we'll be coming back to you to present on that as well. So we also wanted to give you some highlights, financial highlights in summary form. Starting off, it's your summary of net position, summary of the 2020 versus your 2019 overall net position. You can see that there is a overall positive net position of 2.2 billion, and of which unfortunately there is some unrestricted deficit due to your large liabilities relating to mainly your pension liabilities and your OPEB liabilities. Your pension and your OPEB liabilities, out of the 845 million, make up about 300 of your assets are your capital assets. Your overall change in that position from 2019 to 2020 was a little bit less than 1 million. And I will discuss this too, but mind you, of course, this was the pandemic year, the year where we also started seeing the effects of the pandemic flow through operations. So I think management did a really good job in mitigating the losses as it related to the pandemic, resulting in a net positive change overall. So for your governmental revenues and expenses, we did two big pie charts here to give you an overview of what your general revenues are made up of. Your total revenues for the year was $402 million versus 409 in the prior year. Property taxes and charges for services, as well as sales taxes, are your largest portions of your revenues. Of course, you've seen a very large decrease in the effect of COVID on your sales taxes, and as well as charges for services as it relates to sales taxes, transient occupancy taxes, and then some charges for services as it relates to your public programs.
When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Your total expenses in the current year were $405 million approximately, versus $394 million in the prior year. A large part of the increases were increases in public safety expenses, which make up about 49% of your total expenditures. The rest is general government, which is your general management and overall operations of the city. Culture and leisure, there is some slight change in there because of your new golf program contract operations. So there's a slight increase in those expenditures, but it also increases in revenues that are tied to it. For your business type activities, I'll be brief. Oxnard Housing Authority is a component unit. It is audited by another auditor, but included in your overall city financial statements presentation. So you'll see the operations there as a business type activity. The other business type activities that you're seeing presented are your utilities, water, wastewater, and environmental resources or trash hauling. Water and wastewater had a positive net operation, so revenues more than your expenditures, and then environmental resources had a slight net negative result in operations this year, mainly due to increases in expenditures when you compare to last year. Mary will go over some of the general fund highlights.
Thank you, Hong. My name is Mary, and I will be going over a little bit more detailed on the general fund group. So very high level, as you can see on the slide, there was a decrease of around $4 million in revenues, but also an increase of around $4 million in expenditures compared to prior year. This is mostly due to, the biggest drivers of this is mostly due to the recession we experienced starting March 2020 due to COVID-19. But let's take a closer look at the revenues. As you can see here, the primary sources of revenue of the general fund group is taxes. There was an increase in property valuation, which allows the general fund group to continue to see a stable increase in property taxes during the fiscal year. However, due to the unexpected lockdown, there were significant decreases in the Q4 sales taxes, as you can see here. And in addition to that, due to the decrease in personal and business travel, hotel occupancies were also affected, and which Hong briefly touched on earlier. We can see a 1.3 million decrease in transient occupancy taxes. On the positive side, the golf course has a new operator that was in response to one of the findings we previously noted and brought to the city's attention. And by bringing in that new operator and holding periodic meetings to review the financial performance and the budget status, it actually helped the golf course to generate a positive change in fund balance this year. So that's a great plus for the general fund group. And that is reflected in the other category on this pie chart. Moving on to the expenses. The biggest pie of the general fund group expenditures belongs to public safety, followed by general government. And you can see on these charts that both of them had increases during fiscal year 20. For public safety, it was mostly due to personal costs related to benefits and workers' compensation, whereas the general government expenditures went up because of additional reserves for ongoing litigation. However, you can also see here that the other category decreased, and that is due to multi-year capital outlay projects that were completed during the year and for which most of the expenditures have been recorded in the previous years. Overall, the general fund group stayed within its fiscal year 20 budget expenditures, which is another win for the city. Moving on to the next slide. You can see here a fund breakdown of the general fund group. So in addition to the 101 general fund, this group also includes the Measure O, which is noted as half-cent sales tax on the slide, as well as street maintenance, performing arts center, the golf course, of course, and a few other ones that are detailed below. And you can see on this slide specifically that most of the net changes in fund balances were due to the general fund, the 101 general fund and the Measure O fund. And that is simply because they were the funds that were mostly affected by the recession due to COVID-19. I hope that was insightful. I'll pass it on to Eden for additional info.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Zaragoza, members of the City Council. It's my pleasure to present to you today a few of our critical audit matters that we've identified for June 30, 2020. These, along with other matters that are also included in our letter to the city dated December 9th, 2020. So accounting estimates play a big part in the preparation of the city's CAFR. Estimates are based on management's judgments, and then their judgments are based on their knowledge and experience about past and current events, but also assumptions about future events. So some estimates are particularly sensitive because of their impact on the city's financial position, and also because sometimes actual future events may differ significantly from current assumptions. That is why we mention this to you, is because they are more significant to the financial statements. The ones that are listed here, allowances for doubtful accounts, pension and OPEB, self-insurance claims payable, and depreciation, are the most significant of those estimates. The city's CAFR also includes significant disclosures. There are actually around 100 pages of note disclosures in this year's CAFR. They are all important, but the top 4 we selected are listed on this page. Deficit fund balances, prior period adjustments, pension and OPEB related again, commitments and contingencies, risks and uncertainties, and subsequent events. So can you go to the next page, please? As you all know, the pandemic has changed everything in our lives, and it has also changed how we conducted our audit this year. Fortunately, our firm has invested heavily in technology that it has allowed us to perform many of our audit procedures remotely. Other than the impact of COVID-19, we did not encounter any challenges in our audit this year. In fact, we'd like to acknowledge and congratulate the city's staffs for their efforts this year. We were provided with very good accounting records, and everyone was very responsive to our requests and inquiries. Despite the disruption to our day-to-day operations due to COVID-19, we were able to issue the audited CAFR a couple of weeks earlier than last year, and almost a month earlier than compared to 2 years ago. So this is a very good testament to the capabilities of the city's finance department as compared to prior years. We noted 3 material audit adjustments, which consist of number 1, an adjustment of revenue of environmental resources. Number 2, an adjustment of government-wide revenue previously deferred. And then number 3, recognition of a contingent legal liability in the general fund. No new accounting pronouncements was implemented in current year, again, due to COVID-19. That is all for the CAFR's audit. We will be issuing our internal control report and single audit report in March 2021. And we will also be sharing with you our results, the results of our IT assessment and vulnerability scan in confidential document, which will be routed through the city attorney. That's all we have for our presentation. If you have any questions, we'll be ready to answer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm not sure if Kevin has anything to share, but if not, I have a couple of comments. Kevin?
No, this is the auditor's presentation, nothing from staff.
Okay, again, you know, this is brought to the Finance and Governance Committee with Councilmember Basu and myself, and I just want to thank Eddie and Pine Consultants for excellent work. You know, they shared that we have excellent progress here in the city of Oxnard, and a very successful audit, a clean opinion, which I think is really important, and also the enterprise funds are doing okay. And of course, the golf course is showing a positive, which I think is really important to all of us. And one of the things that was mentioned, what I want to mention too, is I want to thank our staff for working with the consultants on this CAFR. And I just want to share with you that Councilman Basu and I heard this before, and we are recommending this to come before the city council. Council members, there's any concerns, because this is a receive and file. Councilmember Perello?
Thank you. Again, I'm very appreciative of getting this kind of great news for our city of Oxnard, but I have a couple of questions. On slide number 10, we show under the golf course, the net changes in the fund balance, 712. You can put slide 12 up again. And this is to which date? The end of the calendar year or the end of the fiscal year?
These are all as of the end of the fiscal year, June 30th, 2020.
Thank you. The second one is on slide number 6. It is the CAFR highlights, and we're talking about the business type activities, revenues, and expenses, specifically environmental resources. In 2020, there seems to be a reverse of what happened in 2019. Was there an explanation that you have that you could give us?
This is also summarized in MD&A really well by management, and it's an increase in personnel cost and fleet service charges for truck maintenance.
So is there an expectation, in your opinion, that those are going to continue, that this is going to go in the opposite direction as it did in 2020 from 2019?
I think maybe Kevin can speak better to that.
You don't have an opinion on that?
I think management is working on making sure that their budgets are balanced and having a net positive result. But
yep.
That
okay.
My assumption.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I would just like to ask one more question, because I have gotten in, and I'm sure I'm going to get some more questions. Tonight, we have a presentation where we actually have live bodies making a presentation to the council. Because of the recent voters' actions in November, we don't see this in other city council items. And the public is asking me a lot of questions like, what the hell are we trying, what are we trying to do by keeping the public in the dark and not showing them the presentations? If we could have the city attorney please address why we are able to see this, or when we've had the financial advisors, why we're able to see the live human beings when they make a presentation, but when city business comes forward, we can't.
This is a Measure M requirement. Go, Mr. City Attorney.
Council member, Measure M has a pre-recording requirement for staff reports for city staff giving staff reports. Edie and Payne is a consultant for the city. They're our contract external auditor. They are not staff. And we have not negotiated in their contract that they do these things in advance. And this is the way that they preferred to give their presentation tonight.
Thank you very much. And as one councilman, I really appreciate having live bodies make a presentation, that they're standing in front of us to answer questions. I have to honor the voters' choice, but I think they made a big mistake with what they did with that Measure M. Thank you. Those are my questions, Mayor. And it's a real compliment to our staff, the hardworking men and women that have worked, retired, still work, all the efforts on everybody to get us out of the swamp that we were in. Thank you.
And I agree, staff has done an excellent job, as as mentioned before, the auditor is working directly with staff, and this is staff responsibility, and to share this information with the city council. So I appreciate that tremendously. Thank you to the consultants and staff again. Any other council members, this is a receive and file. No other additional questions, so we don't take a vote on this, right? Mr. City Manager? No. Okay, just a receive and file.
Correct.
So our next item, thank you to the consultants again. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, thank you.
Good night, Edie and Payne.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is Finance Department. This is the FY 2021 budget mid-year review and appropriation request. And again, this is a pre-recorded item, and there was a link to view this under Measure M presentation. So staff will not make a presentation. Is there any concerns or questions from the city council members? And again, I just want to share that we did review this item ourselves, the Finance Committee Committee. So we have three speakers that I'd like to share at this time. And the three speakers are, to start off, is Gabriel Teran, followed by Pat Brown, and then Larry Stein. Gabriel Teran, please.
Gabriel, would you please unmute by pressing *6? Hi, Gabriel.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council, staff, and the members of the public. My name is Gabriel Teran. I'm a resident of Oxnard. And because of Measure M, the public is not allowed to see tonight's presentation that Mr. Riper had already pre-posted on the city's YouTube channel. And that's unfortunate because it's actually really important information, really good information that the public really should have the opportunity to see live and understand what's being discussed. And unfortunately, because of Measure M, that is being denied of them tonight. I'm looking at the YouTube page right now. There were 48 views for this particular presentation. 6 of those are probably from me, just from watching it again and again to get my notes. But I just want the public to know that the presentation, if you have access to internet and it's reliable, you can go to the city's YouTube page and you'll see Mr. Riper give a presentation. And this presentation explains that mid-year in this year's fiscal year, we are at, our general fund actually has revenue $17 million higher than what was anticipated and adopted in the current fiscal year budget. And expenditures were $2.4 million higher than was anticipated, but obviously offset by our revenues. What is interesting is that the expenditures were higher mostly because of fire department and mostly because of overtime and need for minimum staffing coverage. So this is important information because last year we had a similar situation with the fire department, and it's indicative of our need to have proper staffing levels and make sure that our fire department and all of our departments throughout the city are staffed in a way that's appropriate and is in a way that serves our residents well. That being said, I again encourage everybody to please go and watch the presentation by Mr. Riper. It is very informative and it has a really good explanation, clear cut with numbers on where we are financially. And I will say I'm happy to see we're on the right path. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Gabriel. Pat Brown, followed by Larry Stein.
Yes, I just want to congratulate the city for having done this and balanced the budget. It's been a long time. It's been several years since we've had a record like this. And I think this is just wonderful. I think you all should go out and celebrate somehow or other, individually, whatever's, or at home. But I think you really deserve it. Because this was a really hard mountain to climb, and I've sat back and listened for the last few years to what sounded like it could be a disaster if it wasn't handled properly, and I just want to thank you very much for all the work that you've done in solving this. This didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen by accident. It took a lot of work, and getting the golf course going again and paying its own way. Hey, that's a real boon. I just want to thank you all for everything that you've done involving this, and I would also like to know what positions are we going to fill. Apparently we're going to have 4 new positions. What are those positions? What are those people going to be doing that hasn't been done in the past, or that has been done in the past and but got dropped because of our financial situation? I'm sure that's one of the main reasons. And so thank you very much, and I really appreciate it. And I'm sure that a lot of our city residents do as well, even though they don't say anything or respond. I'm sure they're elated by this. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Our next speaker is Larry Stein. Larry?
Mr. Stein?
Yes, I have to speak on a previous item presented by Idian Payne. I was denied the opportunity. I tried hitting pound 6 numerous times. I was not allowed to speak. So all I have to speak on this item before it was presented. So I have to make comments on an item that we
Larry,
not had the opportunity.
Larry, we
We
called
had
you.
not been able. Yes,
Go ahead
you
and- go
called me
ahead.
several times. You called me several times. I hit pound 6 several times, and I was not
Go
recognized.
ahead. Go ahead and speak. Go ahead and speak. Go
So
ahead.
on this particular item, it seems to be contrary to what this idiot Payne just mentioned before. So some of the issues I have on our budget revision, there's been no revisions to our budget for our capital improvement projects that were deferred. Again, we saw large deferments taking place on a previous presentation, but we're not spending those capital improvement. We have delayed the spending on capital improvement projects for enterprise funds, and that was reviewed as a positive item early in the meeting. So the question is, why are we not spending those capital improvement projects during this fiscal period that were delayed, apparently? The other issue I have is the fact that there's been no discussions about what's been discussed in the past with capital improvement projects. There's no funding being provided to expand the GREAT program. There's no discussion in building the ASR wells for the second skid or third skid. There's been no discussion on finding the funding for our water meter. Again, these are capital improvement projects that have been delayed purposely by city staff. So I'd like an explanation as to why we're deferring capital improvement projects that were supposed to have been done, but now we're deferring these projects to have a better fund balance on our enterprise funds. Again, I asked to speak on the previous item for the presentation of Idian Payne. I was denied the opportunity. I even had to speak on this item even before the presentation. So how am I supposed to comment on an item before it's even presented? I don't have a crystal ball. I was not able to see these presentations because it's not posted on the internet. So please excuse me for my rashness and the fact that we were denied the opportunity of speaking on an item before it was prior to being presented. So I would have to speak on something I couldn't even see, and you asked me to make a presentation on this. Again, you're avoiding the capital improvement projects that were deferred, and I'd like to know why.
Thank you, Larry. Okay. What is the pleasure of the council? This is a pre-recorded item, and under Measure M.
Move the recommended action. Mayor.
Got a motion to approve by Councilor Basua. Do we have second?
Second.
Second by Oscar?
Yes.
All? Okay, roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Perrello,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez.
I would also like to go on the record. The frustration expressed by the public speaker is palpable. It's believable. That is one of the issues about this Measure M and what it has done to the transparency of our city. I'd like that in the record.
And that's exactly expressed by almost all council members, because we're supposed to actually be more transparent, but we're trying to be as transparent as we can under Measure M. This is what the voters voted for it, unfortunately. Thank you.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
Mayor Zaragoza,
Yes.
Councilmember Madrigal,
Yes.
Councilmember Basua.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you so much. And our last item here is the city manager department. This is Enterprise Resource Planning, ERP, System Annual Report. And again, this is pre-recorded under Measure M, and the presentation was done, and this is under Cherie Klima. So any concerns? Again, this is pre-recorded item. However, before we get there, I'd have two speakers on this item, and I'd like to start off with Pat Brown and then Larry Stein. Pat Brown.
Mayor, Pat Brown is not available at the moment.
Okay, our next speaker is Larry Stein. 3 minutes, Larry.
Mr. Stein is also not available at this time.
We'd like to put in the record that we've tried Larry Stein many, many times. And again, Larry, we're waiting for your report or your comments. Unfortunately, you're not available. Council members, any questions on this item? If not, we need a motion. I'll move approval of this item.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Basua. Roll call.
Councilmember Basua,
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Perrello,
Yes.
Mayor Zaragoza.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Okay, how about a motion to adjourn?
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I'd like to request if we could have the city manager, team, staff, make some sort of a presentation. We're getting a lot of questions about pensions, costs of pensions. Can we get a presentation with respect to pensions and how the spending of the pensions is affecting the city of Oxnard?
That can be a future agenda item.
Yes, we can do that again. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, with that in mind, we have motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, Perrello, second by Lopez. Roll call. We're adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good night.